Mixtape Podcast.
It is now time for NBA playoff action featuring the New York Knicks and the Knicks Take Podcast, episode 11.
You dig.
You dig. I am your host, Ja, so focused, alongside
French, the co-host.
I'm so disappointed in you.
That playoff game ain't happened yet. The game ain't happened yet.
I'm so disappointed in you.
It ain't the playoffs yet. Playoff ain't start till tomorrow.
All right, we are a weekly podcast bringing you the biggest Knicks news of the week. Nowadays, it's not really news. Right now, we just got the playoffs going on. We are recording right now on Saturday, day one of the playoffs. The Knicks will be playing on day 2, which is perfect. We record every Saturday. We will be releasing episodes every Sunday, every week. If you can, please follow us on Twitter at The Knicks Take, on Instagram, The Knicks Take, on Facebook.com/Knicks Take Media, on YouTube, Knicks Take Videos. Now let's get to it. All right. We already talked about all the games, all the regular season games. Let's do some lead-in. First, we're going to celebrate and congratulate our coach, Tom Thibodeau, for winning Eastern Conference Coach of the Month. Well-deserved. Mm-hmm. And it's well-deserved because, we can golf clap. Well-deserved because the Knicks ended up winning, I want to say, probably about a good 75% of their the last 10 games or 20 games that they played. So the month of May, Knicks definitely showed out. Definitely came to play. Only lost about 3 games out of their last 10. Out of their last 13, they only lost 3 games. So that's real good. He's been doing this all season. This all season. When I looked at the regular season and I looked at how the Knicks started and how they finished, their record over their last 32 games, incredible. I can't think of an NBA coach, at least in the Eastern Conference, that deserved to win that award. I think he should have won it in April too, actually. But
I can't think of a coach in the entire NBA whose impact is more felt on the team, who has a direct correlation to the team's impact on winning. I don't think there's a coach out there in the entire NBA who you can say their team resembles that more than the New York Knicks resemble Tom Thibodeau.
So let's transition to that. Do you think that he's going to win Coach of the Year?
If he doesn't, it just doesn't make sense why he wouldn't. You understand what I'm saying? Every other coach has an advantage to their record. As in, I probably didn't say that correctly, but every other team, like Monty Williams, he got Chris Paul and Devin Booker on his team. You can understand how their team became second in the West. Quinn Snyder, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year most likely, Jordan Clarkson, Sixth Man of the Year most likely. The Utah Jazz has a really good roster on their team, or a really good roster. When you started the season, you wouldn't be like astounded that those two facts happened. The Phoenix Suns are the second seed in the West, and the Utah Jazz are the number 1 overall seed.
Not astounded, surprised maybe, but not astounded. You knew that
you might be like, I can see it.
You knew that they were going to be in the running, if you could see them being one of the top teams in the West, both the Jazz and the Suns, especially with Chris Paul.
If I told you at the beginning of the season that the Knicks were going to win 30 games, you would be astounded. Yeah. Everyone would be astounded. You'd be like, 30 games? They're making the playoffs. We got a chance at the playoffs? You'd be astounded. And then to see that we actually won 41 games, 10 games over 500.
Yep. Double what anybody, some of the worst critics projected. We projected to win 21 games, and we ended up winning 20 more games than that.
The biggest difference from last year to this year, the biggest gap was the New York Knicks. If Tom Thibodeau doesn't receive Coach of the Year, then the Coach of the Year award just doesn't have any merit this year.
Yeah, as my brother French noted.
French, the co-host.
Quinn Snyder from the Utah Jazz and Monty Williams from the Phoenix Suns and Tom Thibodeau from the New York Knicks are the three finalists for the NBA Coach of the Year. And I agree with you. I don't see how Snyder or Williams should win it over Thibodeau. The Knicks are also in two other finalist positions. Kia NBA Sixth Man of the Year. You have Utah Jazz with 2 Sixth Man of the Years, which
makes no sense.
Should cancel each other out. Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles, and Derrick Rose by his lonesome for the New York Knicks. If Derrick Rose doesn't win Sixth Man of the Year, I'll be shocked considering the other two finalists.
Wait, what?
I'll be shocked if he does not win. Considering
Derrick Rose?
Yeah.
Nah, Clarkson got that wrapped up.
You think so?
Yeah, he got that wrapped up. He's been balling off the bench, dropping 40 points. Like, he's been wilding. Derrick Rose is the Sixth Man of the Year. Outside of him,
You know why I think Derrick Rose would get it over Clarkson? If you take Clarkson off of the Jazz, are they still a playoff team?
that's not what the award is about, though.
I know that's not what it's about, but I can make the argument that Derrick Rose is more key for the Knicks' success than Clarkson is for the Jazz.
But it's about who had
The better year.
the better year. Yeah.
And that would be Clarkson.
Yeah. How much is he averaging this year?
Who, Clarkson?
Yeah. I'll look it up. Because I know he averages more points than Derrick Rose off rip. This year, what's he averaging? 17.1.
That's Clarkson?
Yeah. 17 points, shooting damn near 90% from the field, 34 from 3, and 42 from the field.
From free throw, he's shooting 90%?
89.6.
That's not bad.
That's what I'm saying. He's been balling. Let's look up Derrick Rose stats. Just off the stats, like the stats don't tell you everything, but because
Derrick Rose
we've
is only
seen more of
averaging-
Derrick Rose, yeah.
Derrick Rose is only averaging. Oh shit! Hold on. Nope. You can say what you want to say.
18.3 PER. Hold on, I'm bugging. Derrick Rose is averaging 14.9 points per game.
There you go. Yeah, he's averaging more points. He's got the better stats.
I read the wrong shit for Jordan Clarkson. He's averaging 18 points per game.
There you go.
Yeah. Jordan
So that's
Clarkson's
even-
averaging 18.
So that's even worse for Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll give it to you, Clarkson. I do think that Derrick Rose
Basically.
is just he's a starter coming off of the bench, and that's basically like why I feel like all right, like I don't care what anybody else. I don't care what anybody else is doing. Like Derrick Rose has carried this Knicks team to the
Clarkson
finish line.
did too, though.
Sometimes on his own. And then we got Kia Most Improved. Okay. Nah. They're the 1 seed. Like, all right. Kia Most.
Yeah, but look, Donovan Mitchell's not even playing right now. He's been injured for like, what, a month and some change, and they still the number 1 seed.
Okay. I mean, they got a great team like that. But anyway, I'll give it to you. Kia Most Improved Player, Jeremy Grant, Michael Porter Jr., and Julius Randle.
Michael Porter Jr. gave it up earlier. He's like, yeah, I already know this is Julius Randle's award. Like,
Gotta be.
it gotta be. There's nobody else is gonna be an All NBA.
They got it. Yeah, he's the only one.
From,
He went from bum that people wanted to trade to All NBA.
yeah.
How can Jeremy Grant or Michael Porter Jr. and they both made strides. I said in one earlier podcast, I don't even know if he's a defender, and apparently his defense has.
Who you talking about?
Michael Porter Jr. Apparently his defense has improved, so I can't even say that he's not a defender anymore. And Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, neither of them. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you up, but neither of them two have made the improvement
That Julius Randle did.
team wise as well. Like the team is winning because of this player as well as his improvement, which is also dramatic as a player. Like Jeremy Grant left a playoff team, went to a team that's not a playoff team, had his opportunity to shine and score all the points he wanted, but his team is bottom of the league. So him scoring all the points didn't mean anything.
Yeah, the Pistons are basura.
For the team. Michael Porter Jr. is on a team that's been a playoff team. They went to the Western Conference Finals last year.
Yeah, so
And
this is
like his best player got injured, and he has to take up all the shots that the best player of the team would have taken up had he not gotten injured. So it's understandable why his stats went up, and Julius Randle had to come back to the same roster and will his team to the playoffs, will himself to the All-Star game, All-NBA team.
so essentially this award is Julius Randle's to lose.
The Julius Randle Award.
Which basically, yeah, the season's already done. Outside of that, we got the Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert is going to win that over Draymond and Ben Simmons. You disagree?
Yeah, I think the media loves Rudy Gobert, but I don't think he deserves it more than Draymond does.
We got Rookie of the Year, LaMelo Ball. I don't think Edwards or Halliburton is going to win that over him.
It's tough because Anthony Edwards was balling when LaMelo went
For half
down.
a season.
But you can say the same thing about LaMelo.
No, you could say LaMelo didn't play for half a season. Anthony Edwards
Same thing.
was basura for half of the season. Like if LaMelo was not hurt, you could make the argument that he played well all year.
Yeah, but they didn't give the award to Embiid when he missed half the season, and he was balling his rookie year.
Who'd they give it to that year?
They gave it to Malcolm Brogdon.
And was Brogdon balling?
Yeah, he was balling,
The
and he
whole
was
time?
a second-round pick
He was balling the whole time though.
the whole season. Yeah,
Okay, Anthony Edwards wasn't, and that's the only argument I can make. Like Anthony Edwards, he started really playing well. What in April, maybe midway through March.
the All-Star
Like-
game.
Like I can't give it to Anthony Edwards when half of the year you were still figuring it out, and then the other half is like
But when he
Oh,
figured it
I-
out, he figured it out though. Like he beat us. Remember that?
how. I remember that. But
They was taking down
all right,
some elite teams when
Let-
he was putting on.
All right, let's put it like this: Anthony Edwards at his best this season versus LaMelo Ball at his best this season. Is that a toss up?
That's not something that you could just
Is that a
decide. You
toss
gotta
up?
think about that. You gotta
That's
think
a
about
toss
that.
up. That's what I'm saying. That's a toss up. You can't choose. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But you could say Anthony Edwards first half of the season versus LaMelo Ball before he got hurt. LaMelo Ball way easy. And then since LaMelo's been back and since Anthony Edwards been playing well, it's a toss up. So how can you give it to Anthony Edwards?
Because he played more. He played the whole season.
I don't give a goddamn. He played like
If it's a toss up when they're both at their best,
he
you
was
gotta-
causing
you gotta
his
think
team
about
to
it.
lose games by how bad he was playing. And that's
But
the
you
only
can say the same about LaMelo in the beginning of the year too.
but for like
They
a
were
few
losing
games,
in the beginning.
for like a few
Yeah.
games. And we're not talking about a few games for Anthony Edwards. We're talking about a long stretch. And the only
Neither
reason
team made the playoffs.
Listen, I'll give it to you. It's sort of a conversation because of how well Anthony Edwards played and because LaMelo got hurt. But if LaMelo didn't get hurt, it wouldn't even be a conversation. It wouldn't even be a conversation. And that
You can't say that because
Why?
Because if Emmanuel quickly got hurt, and around that same period when he was balling out, we would be saying the same thing about him.
what would
Because
you
he
say?
was wilding in the beginning of the season, dropping 30 on Portland. He was dropping 25 on elite teams. And he was number 2 rookie overall when Anthony Edwards was struggling. If he got hurt for the whole season, we'd be saying his name more in the rookie of the year race.
Yeah,
but
but
if
it was-
LaMelo didn't get injured, he would have had an opportunity to hit the rookie wall, to struggle even more once defenses started to learn his game and started to trap him in. You see, that's what happened in the playing games. Like, he wasn't putting on like how he was early in the season because teams figured him out. That's my point. Anthony Edwards got to the point where teams figured him out, and he had to figure out how to still get buckets and still will his team to a win.
I'm not saying that Anthony Edwards' game improvement is not something to applaud. It is, but I think that the fact that LaMelo has been playing consistently the entire time, well, you have to give it up to him for that, as opposed to Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is definitely clear number 2, no question. I'll give it to him.
I'm not arguing either way. Like, either of them could win the award and I'd be like, they deserve it.
But Minnesota had been out of it, and the reason they had been out of it is because of Anthony Edwards.
And Towns.
Whereas LaMelo Ball, he's been keeping...
And everybody else on that team.
LaMelo Ball has been keeping the Charlotte Hornets relevant his entire time. So even when he got hurt and came back... Okay, well...
When he was hurt, how could he have contributed? His team was still good without him.
I'm saying even when he got hurt, when he came back, the Hornets were still in...
That's because the Hornets were a good team whether or not he was playing. That's what I'm saying. The Hornets were still a playoff team even when he was done.
Okay. We're gonna move on because I think
wait. We can't move on yet because we gotta attack who that third finalist was, who I feel like was not deserving
Tyrese
over
Haliburton.
Emmanuel Quickly. I don't feel like he deserved that over Quickly because the Kings, like, I don't care all that fancy stuff you're doing, your team is losing. And they've been losing the entire season. Even when you're playing your greatest, it has no impact on the game, on a team's success.
Here's why this is why we're gonna argue again. Here's why I understand why Haliburton is number 3. I think that when you could have argued that Quickly was number 3 over Haliburton was still playing well enough. They were both playing real good. I don't think it was like. I think that if somebody would have said, "Yo, I have Haliburton over Quickly," I would disagree with it. But I would. It's not something where I'd be like, "Yo, you bugging." Like, I could see it. Haliburton played real good.
And he got injured too.
I just thought Quickly played better, and then Quickly had a slump. Quickly got hurt. Quickly came back after he got hurt. He didn't play as much. Maybe if he played more at the end of the season, then I could be like, all right. But I don't think Quickly did enough to be clear-cut number 3. So I understand what you're saying, but I wasn't surprised to see Haliburton there. I expected it, actually, because Quickly did fall off. He did have a slump. He started playing well, then he got hurt, and then he stopped playing. Then he only got like 10 minutes a game after that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that was going against Quick. So as much as I would have loved to see him be a finalist, I'm not mad at the list. I'm not mad at him not making top 3.
The only reason I'm not arguing more is because I didn't watch a lot of Kings games.
Yeah. Halliburton's check his stats. Like, he's been playing good. You know,
I've seen his stats. That's the reason why I'm like, I understand his placement, but it's just like, bro.
Yeah. Like, it was bringing up Quickly earlier in the season. It wasn't like clear cut Quickly number 2. It was Quickly number 2 or Haliburton number 2. Like, and the only reason that people, like, I would say, like, no, it's easily Quickly number 2 is because the Knicks is playing much better than the Kings, first of all. Right. And I think Quickly has a bigger effect on that. It had a bigger effect on the wins than Haliburton did.
On their losses. Haliburton was doing all that, and then boom, they down 30.
Right. So
great game, Ty.
You know, so I think it was an argument whereas right now I'm like, all right, you know what? Yeah, I can argue it, but is it an argument that I think it needs to be? Nah. I give it to Haliburton. I understand. I get it. I get it with how the season progressed, why Quickly is not number 3. And the only other list left for the top 3 finalists, NBA Most Valuable Player, who had Stephen Curry, Joel Embiid, and who is going to definitely be the winner, Nikola Jokic, a.k.a.
You feel like Steph Curry deserved that 3rd spot?
We talked about this a little bit before the pod. I said I think he put Golden State on his back. Last season with Golden State was what, the worst team in the league. And
no, Minnesota was.
Oh, wait, they were one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. But
they were bottom 2, 3, whatever. And this season Steph came out, was scorching hot. It don't matter. At the end of the day, Golden State got
The second
a top three. Yeah, they were guaranteed a top 3 pick, and this year they come back. They still didn't have Clay. I think they were missing Draymond for some stretches, and this is not the same championship team. Like, this is not. And the only reason that they had a chance to be in the playoffs this year is because of Steph.
But
okay,
Steph is a former unanimous MVP. He's supposed to have his team at this point. And if you look at the teams that were underneath Golden State in the record, like, which one of those teams do you feel like had a better roster, coach than Golden State, other than maybe New Orleans?
Say that one more time. Which team had a better roster?
That's underneath the Golden State record-wise, which is San Antonio, Sacramento, Minnesota, OKC, Houston.
Memphis is in there.
But they took their spot.
You didn't say anything about who took whose spot. You said who has a better roster.
But listen,
with a worse record.
But listen, though, he's a former unanimous MVP, and you're saying that Ja Morant and Jonas Valanciunas had a better.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just I was just putting the team in there because that was one of the teams that had a worse record than the Golden State Warriors in there. Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
I didn't feel like he deserved to be up there just off the simple fact that they're not even in the playoffs.
The only reason that we feel that the Golden State Warriors have a better record than that the Golden State Warriors are a better team than the rest of these teams is because Steph Curry is on that roster.
You could say the same thing about the Wizards.
If you take Steph Curry off that roster and you take the best player off of some of those other rosters, I guarantee you that take the best player off of the rest of the rosters underneath the Golden State Warriors. Their seeding still drops significantly. Maybe they don't come to being the bottom of the league, but of the West. But you take Ja Morant off of the Grizzlies, you take whoever else you want.
You could say that about half the teams in the playoffs right now. If you take Ben Simmons or Embiid off the Sixers, they're not making it to the playoffs.
No, I don't. I disagree with that. I think they still make it. They still make it as an 8th, 9th, 10th seed, but I think they still make it. They make it to the play-ins at least, I think. I don't agree with that.
I'm just
saying. If you
told me a former MVP had a Defensive Player of the Year finalist on his team, a top 4 defense, I'm not thinking that you're going to be telling me that they're at the bottom of the West, not making the playoffs. Had to struggle to get in the play-in tournament and then get dropped out the play-in tournament because you lost 2 games straight. And the way that you lost the second game against the Memphis Grizzlies, who doesn't have anyone in the MVP discussion, who doesn't have a top 5 defense. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I guess we're going to go right into the play-ins then.
He didn't take over at the end of the game, but yeah, let's get into it.
So, NBA play-ins. First of all, I want to say before we get into it, I hope we have the play-ins every year.
We will.
I hope we have the play-ins every year. I think that this might end up being one of the best playoffs. This might end up being one of the best playoffs in my lifetime.
We got to see it first.
Of course we got to see it first. But I think as long as nobody gets injured significantly, I love almost every single matchup. I love every single matchup, and I love every single potential matchup that moves forward. Now, the play-ins, right? What ended up happening for the play-ins...
The Knicks Take Podcast.
All right. Couple technical difficulties. But where was I? Oh, yes. The NBA play-ins. So like I was saying, I like all the matchups. Play-ins. We had 7 seed Boston play against 8 seed Washington. Boston won that. We had 9 seed Indiana play 10 seed Charlotte. Indiana won that. And so we had Washington then play Indiana for the 8th seed. And Washington, who I thought was going to beat Boston for the 7th seed, but didn't. Boston ended up. Excuse me. The Washington
Tatum
Wizards.
ended up.
The Washington Wizards ended up taking that over Indiana, and Boston did, and Tatum took over against Washington. So we got Boston 7 seed.
Dropped their ass off.
We got Boston 7 seed, and we got the Washington Wizards 8 seed, which means in the Eastern Conference, Philly will be playing the Washington Wizards. I like that matchup. Philly gonna win,
Yeah, Philly's gonna win.
but I like that matchup. That's gonna be.
You know what that matchup reminds me of?
You think Washington's gonna take a game?
No.
You don't think they're gonna take one?
That matchup reminds me of, like, remember LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love against the Detroit Pistons in the first round, and every game was like really tough, but it was a sweep. That's what this is gonna be.
I mean, I remember that. I just don't. You don't think triple dub Russ and 30 point per game Bradley Beal is gonna take a game? Like, you don't think that? You think that's beyond the realm
From
of
Philly?
You think that's beyond the realm of possibility that they take a game at home?
I don't. I personally just don't see.
I see it.
Philly,
I see a
Philly's just too good.
Gentleman sweep. 5 games.
5,
Yeah, gentleman sweep.
maybe one game in Washington. Maybe the 4th game they take.
And outside of that, we have the Boston Celtics, which I think is going to be another good one, playing against the Brooklyn Nets. So, I think that's going to be a good series. What you think?
I don't know. It's tough to call because
You tweeted
Kemba.
something.
What I tweeted?
It's not fair. It's just not fair.
Oh yeah. Because Brooklyn is just they're starting 5 tonight. It's James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Blake Griffin, Joe Harris.
And Boston Celtics are going to be playing shorthanded because
There's no Jaylen Brown.
is done for the season. So, how many games do you think Boston's going to take? I still like the series. Like, I'm still interested in the series, but Brooklyn is definitely winning this one.
Well,
Assuming health.
Brooklyn plays no defense, which can really hurt you in the playoffs, especially with someone like Tatum. So, and Kemba Walker. They also have some young rookies on their team and guys that don't get to play much who's going to fill Jaylen Brown's role, who we've personally seen at the end of the season and we almost lost to. So,
Bro, shut up.
think
You know Brooklyn is taking this. Like, why are you making this more than what it is? Like, come on.
Can I finish?
No, don't finish. This is
With
easy.
all that being said, I can see Boston taking no games. I think this is going to be a clean sweep, and that's all she wrote. Like, I don't see them. I don't see how they can win a game because Brooklyn is just so overpowered. They have too much talent.
I can see Boston
And
taking a game just off the
It's
strength
over.
of they have had more time together as a team. They've been through the playoffs. They're a hardened team. They have Tatum. They have Kemba. And maybe one day they catch the the big three sleeping. But outside of that, it's going to be. I don't want to hear about Brooklyn plays no defense and da-da-da. No, like Boston. If the season was a little bit longer, Boston may not have even ended up in the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. Like I said earlier, I was surprised to see Washington not beat them and take the 7 seed. I would have liked to see Washington play Brooklyn and Boston play Philly.
That'd have been a
but
clean
that
sweep,
would have been that would have been even more of a sweep. So I think, that's I'm still interested in the series because Tatum's playing, and I
Kemba's
want to
playing.
see I want to see if the big three can be healthy for a full series. But I'm not expecting much from Boston. So that's the 7 and 8 seed. Those were the last 2 seeds to be finalized over the play-ins. Next we have 3 seed Milwaukee Bucks playing against the Miami Heat, which as of this recording, we have already seen Game 1 of that series, and that was good. That was a good
game.
It's a good game, and if the rest of it, I could see this series going 7. I could see the series.
I could also see this being another 5-game series.
Gentleman sweep.
I could also see that, yeah. Because Miami caught them off guard last year.
I don't even know.
That ain't gonna happen again this year.
I don't know if
I can see Giannis was not playing this game. He wanted to take this one. He's not losing game 1 at home. He don't care how many shots Duncan Robinson gonna make. He don't care how much Jimmy Butler's gonna try to play aggressive with him. He's gonna get that ball, and he's gonna get that ball in the rim over and over.
I agree with you, but while I do think Giannis is the best player on the court, Jimmy Butler is the most mentally tough franchise player on the court.
You can't say that no more. Because now the Bucks got PJ Tucker, the Bucks got Bobby Portis, the Bucks got a lot of guys on that team that's tough. Drew Holiday.
Did you just name drop Bobby Portis?
I had to, former Knick. Had to show him some love. And on top of that, the Milwaukee Bucks, with the strong help of Bobby Portis,
I'm talking
beat Miami at the end of the year.
I'm talking about Giannis and Jimmy
So that
Butler,
we can get
and
the fourth
you
seed.
decided to drop Bobby MFing Portis.
Once a Knick, always.
Yeah, if you don't get off my screen, listen.
That's the Jimmy Butler of the Knicks last year.
Jimmy Butler can win a game. Jimmy Butler could win a few games if Miami needs him to, and they will need him to. So they almost took today, and that was at Milwaukee. That wasn't even in Miami. So
yeah, but they didn't.
Yeah, right. You're right. They didn't, but they weren't supposed to. Nobody expected them to. So the fact that it was so close, and the fact that it was really a missed shot to take it into double overtime, where Miami could have taken that game could have gone so many different ways. It was such an even game. I don't know if I could say 5. I could say 6.
I could say 5.
I could say 6, but I need to see another game. I need to see how Game 2 is going to go and if it's going to be just this tight. Because if Game 2 is just this tight, then I have to think that Miami's going to take at least 1 in Miami.
I don't think Miami poses that much of a threat to Milwaukee, to be honest. I think Milwaukee's the only thing stopping Brooklyn from getting to the finals.
I agree with you. But Miami, if Miami was healthy all year, they would not be the 6th seed. I believe that.
But they're that's a part of the game, though.
No, you're right. That's a part of the game. All I'm saying is Miami is not that far below Milwaukee, Philly, and Brooklyn. They're not. And today's game showed it. The way that they've been playing over the past month or two shows it. This is a team that is going to be a tough out for any team, including, Milwaukee, including Brooklyn. I'm not saying they're going to win. I still have Milwaukee taking the series, but to say 5, nah, I can't disrespect them like that unless Game 2 Milwaukee decides, oh yeah, we figured you out in Game 1. If I see that, 4, maybe 5.
I'm trying to tell you, they want to make up for last year.
I have to see it first. I'm not just going to give it to them. They have to earn it.
All right.
They have to earn it. They didn't earn it last year. I'm not just going to give it to them this year. This was a tough game.
It's going to be 5.
So
I think it's going to be 5.
And then we have the New York Knicks, playing the Atlanta Hawks, which we will get into. Next, we're going to go to the West Coast. West Coast, we had the Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors, 7-8 seed, playing for the 7 seed. And going into this game, I was like, I would not be surprised to see Golden State win this. And then I watched the first half, and Golden State was winning. I was like, Golden State might win this. And then I fell asleep. And I woke up to see the Lakers won
LeBron James
on a LeBron James
game winner.
3. I mean, it was like
after crying.
It was like a minute before the end of the game, but yeah. And the last point scored was LeBron James knocking down the 3, and then nobody scored for the last minute of the game, and that's how Golden State lost.
And then ESPN hyped it up like, oh my God, LeBron game winner.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I guess it was because he scored the game-winning basket.
Bro, nobody scored for 2 possessions, okay?
So, settle
We're
down.
not going to hype it up.
Settle down, ESPN.
Like
Settle
this
down.
super duper, like, clutch shot. Well, it was clutch, but let me just stop hating.
Yeah, I was surprised that Golden State played as well as they did against LeBron and AD led Lakers with Dennis Schroeder on the court. And the way they were playing, I didn't see them losing that game. So me missing the second half, I was like, okay, I should have known better than that. You know, they got LeBron, they got AD, of course they're gonna win. And then after that, I suspected that Golden State was gonna win the 8th seed. Memphis played against the San Antonio Spurs. I thought the Spurs were gonna win that one because they have Greg Popovich. And yeah, I got to give Memphis credit. They came out of that game. I didn't watch that game at all. Memphis won. And then it was.
I watched that game.
How,
that was a good one that went into overtime, and John Morant just showed Curry up.
Oh, I didn't even say it yet, but yeah, Memphis ended up playing Golden State. I see you paid attention to the current games. Memphis ended up playing Golden State, and yeah, tell us about that game.
That game was like back and forth throughout the entire game. Went into overtime because Draymond couldn't make a shot. Like, yo, if you really think about it, like, how Draymond gets the pass that he just is, it's okay that he just can't score. Like, he gets to play all these minutes, but why Frank can't do that? He could provide that Draymond role if you just gave him an opportunity. Like, Draymond literally is a zero threat from 3.
I don't know.
Or from the field.
I don't know if I would go that far, but
he's more so of a playmaker.
He is
defender.
living. He is living off of past offensive proficiency, I think.
He's living off the ability to get Curry open.
That too.
And to take advantage of when Curry is open.
That too.
And then play defense.
So who?
But the fact that he can't shoot a mid-range, he can't score in traffic, he can't hit a corner 3, any 3 for that matter. Like, bro, are we not gonna say nothing about this? Like, nobody finds that this little.
So you blaming that Golden State loss on Draymond? Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond, according to you.
Yeah, I'm talking about his offense.
I know.
His defense is good.
I'm just asking. All right, so I saw Chef Curry it wasn't his fault. He scored. He did what he was supposed to do. John Morant did what he was supposed to do. So who you trumping up on the Memphis side to give them that victory and the 8th seed in the West?
John Morant, Dylan Brooks, them two is good. Dylan Brooks had Curry like panicking in the end. Like, he was guarding him well throughout the entire game. And it's like, bro, damn. Curry got 35, and it don't seem like Curry got 35 when you're watching the game.
It wasn't an easy 35?
It was not an easy 35. He had to earn that. I respected it. Who else? Xavier Tillman came off the bench and was just showing, like, bro, it don't matter that I'm a rookie. I'm here to play. Like, I'm here to ball out. That was my first time seeing him live. I'm like, oh, I see why everybody was hyping you up in the draft. Boy is good. He hitting corner 3s, playing defense, playing tough. I'm like, I like him. I'm about to be on my, like, when I watch other games, I'm starting to scout players just to see who would fit on the Knicks.
So with that Grizzlies win over the Golden State Warriors, that made Utah the 1 seed. They will be playing the Memphis Grizzlies. We know who's winning that. 4, 5.
5.
Utah on 5.
5. Yeah. Because that's not even a fair matchup. Utah just got the rest. They ready to just.
Yeah, but they couldn't scout. That's the thing.
Tear your ass up.
That's the other thing, is that Utah doesn't have to scout. Like, That's the
The
that's
eighth seed is not a team that you need to scout.
this
for.
is what you're.
If you're the number one team in basketball, you don't have to scout the eighth seed.
Well, here's the thing. You're right, but it's just that little bit of separation, which is why I've been loving the play-ins, because the teams that are closer together, the 4 to 5, the 3 to 6, like those teams, to have them be able to scout and have the same amount of preparation time that the 1 seed has for the 8th seed, it just don't seem right. Like, we want to make these playoffs more interesting. You got to give the 1 seed and the 2 seed, you got to handicap them a little bit just to make it a little interesting. They're still going to win. Like, we're not saying that it's going to go 7. We're not saying that it's going to go 6 for the 1 seed and 2 seed. But it just makes it that little bit more difficult because they have to wait until the day before or 2 days before they know who they play. I think that makes the playoffs that much better, knowing that even though they had all week to rest, they have no idea who they're going to play. I'm guarantee you, Utah was scouting for both Golden State and the Lakers all week, and then Memphis comes out the woodwork. Now you gotta rush prepare for Memphis.
It's their job.
I like it. I like it. I still think Utah's going to win. But I like the fact that they have a little bit of a handicap. Whereas Memphis, they're already in playoff mode because they've been in that. So now Utah has to catch up to them too.
Yeah.
So I like it. I like that. Number 2 seed, Phoenix Suns will be playing number 7 seed, which is crazy to say at the end of the season. Number 7 seed, Los Angeles Lakers, who almost ended up the 8th seed. Imagine that. The Lakers could have been the 8th seed without that LeBron James 3-pointer.
And that would have been scary for LeBron.
Utah versus Ooh. Anyway,
scary.
Who you got? Lakers or Suns?
Oh yeah, the Lakers is gonna win this series, but I feel like it's gonna be a tough series.
Yeah.
Chris Paul is gonna show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna go 7 games, but there's nothing that the Suns can do with Anthony Davis.
Okay.
Or LeBron.
I would love to see the Suns knock them out, but I agree with you. I
don't see it happen.
I think the Lakers are going to win.
Like if it was any other team that wasn't defending champs, I would take the Suns. But this is the defending world champions.
Do you think,
on top of the fact that it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Go ahead.
Let me ask you who you think would have been a better matchup for the Lakers, the Suns or the Nuggets? Who would have been tough?
Like,
who would have been tougher?
In terms of who would have been tougher? The Nuggets.
Okay. So Nuggets.
The Nuggets played them in the conference finals last year, and they were struggling with Dwight. But I don't see nobody on this team that they're going to be struggling with outside of AD. And they're deep enough to outscore the Lakers bench, so the Nuggets could probably potentially knock them out.
All right. Well,
especially
who you got?
In the first round.
Who you got? 3 seed Nuggets versus 6 seed Portland Trailblazers.
Nuggets.
In?
That's tough. I say Nuggets in 6.
Oh, you giving Dame a lot of respect there, bro.
It ain't just Dame.
I know it's not.
It's a lot of guys on that Portland team that's underrated.
I know.
It's a lot of guys on that team. But that's the only reason I'm giving them that much respect.
It's gonna come down to Dame, though.
Yeah, it is. But Dame, that's regular for Dame. He knows what to do under them circumstances.
Mm-hmm. And
he know what to do.
And number 4 seed Los Angeles Clippers versus the 5 seed Dallas Mavericks, which is another game that just happened. We just finished watching, and much to my surprise and chagrin,
Go ahead.
Goddamn Luka Doncic.
That man is bad. He's bad.
Willing the Dallas Mavericks to playoffs wins basically by himself. Oh, him and Tim Hardaway. Because Tim Hardaway was going off too. And then you got number 3 scorer Kristaps Porzingis stinking it up. But yeah, I was surprised. I said to you earlier that I don't like what I'm seeing from Kawhi. He's still good, but even in that Knicks game, I was hyped I was hype about that, but it was something was off with Kawhi for me. And I wanted to hype up RJ, be like, yeah, RJ clamped up Kawhi, but he didn't put his stamp on this game. I don't feel like. I feel like he played good, but he didn't play like Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard.
For the listeners who are not up to date, we're referring to Game 1 of the LA Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Proceed.
I mean, we didn't say who won yet, but well, actually, I kind of did. The Dallas Mavericks won.
By 10
The 5 seed
on the road.
Dallas Mavericks beat the 4 seed Los Angeles Clippers. The Los Angeles Clippers, who could have been 3 seed at the end of the season. The 3 seed Los Angeles Clippers, who were projected to be as high as 2, battling it out with the Lakers all season. That's what they were projected. And it seems like, once again, this is going to be a very underwhelming season for the Clippers.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a really short season for the Clippers.
If they get
Hot take.
If they get knocked,
Dallas Mavericks is going to win this series.
hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take
That
on the
shit
hot take on the
that
next
I
take.
just watched. Dallas Mavericks is probably going to win this series. This is the year that the Bucks return the favor to the Heat, and the Mavericks return the favor to the Clippers. Because remember last year they were up. What were they up? They were up 3-2, right?
I don't remember last season. My memory terrible.
Yeah, they were up though. They were on the verge of winning the series, and then KP got hurt, and then Clippers just came back and won 2 or 3 straight and ended that series. But this is the year where them teams are gonna get that payback. Dallas Mavericks is winning this series in 6.
Well, I still have hope for the Clippers. I still think the Clippers are going to pull it out. I still think Kristaps is going to be... He's going to be the reason they don't win the series. But if the Clippers can't take one in Dallas, yeah, you're right. It's going to be Dallas in 6. And they still have to win at home. Like I'm just assuming they're gonna win Game 2 after losing Game 1 at home.
Bro,
so
just like that, home court advantage is gone.
It's gone off Game 1, and there's no reason for it because they had the exact same time to prepare. They had the exact same rest.
Yep.
There's no excuse. So
no excuse.
And this was a game. It was a close game all game, and then they end up losing by 10. So that means Luka's better.
Even in garbage time, they couldn't get a bucket off. I'm like, yo, they figured this team out.
I'm like, how Luka and Tim Hardaway playing better than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard?
But I tell you.
So anyway,
they both free agents at the end of the season, right?
Paul George and Kawhi?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are, yeah.
And we got cap space for 2 free agents?
Boy, please. So that's it for the playoffs. That's it for the playoffs so far. Got a so let's get into Knicks versus Hawks. French.
I'm scared to death.
Our mother is over here making popcorn, distracting me. So if I start stuttering a bunch, that would be why. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Ma.
Kiari said, well, sorry. Go ahead. Say what you was about to say. Hawks are scary.
No. I'm just scared because I'm going to Game 1, and
look at this humble.
There's something that happens to every time I go to a game that I admit it to someone, and I'm hoping it's not a jinx. So let's just proceed without me having to give any predictions, please.
I'm not gonna. I'll just make my own predictions. I don't even want to let you speak about predictions because you're going to Game 1. Didn't invite me. Didn't ask me if I want to go. Didn't offer to pay no ticket for me. You just bought it and was like, "Yo, I'm going to Game 1." No hesitation. All right, I see how it is.
I'm the little brother. You're supposed to buy for tickets for me.
Nah. Like, if I'd have known you was going to Game 1, maybe I'd have bought my ticket. Maybe who knows what I would have did. But you decided to buy it without me. So
I had to get it when it came out.
Quiet down, sir. Coming into the end stretch, I was hoping 4-5 Knicks Hawks. And I was assuming that the Hawks would show that their end of season strengths are just a fluke. You know, something was going to happen. They were going to revert back to the way they played in the first half. Nate McMillan is not that great of a coach. Something. And that never actually happened with the Hawks. And we played them in the third game that ultimately didn't really matter in terms of if we tied at the end of the season who was going to be the fourth seed, because we had already won the season series, but ended up being a very crucial win because we needed every single win to tie with the Hawks. And in that third game, we were losing until Trae Young injured his ankle. Not to say that that's the reason why we won, but just to say that if Trae is healthy, we don't know how that goes.
That game is the only thing that frightens me about this series, because it looked like they figured us out in that game, and it looked like Trae Young figured us out in that game. And then when he got injured, we got the momentum back, and they still found a way to force overtime. And I'm hoping that Mitch comes back this season. I mean, this series. Because Clint might be a little bit too much for Noel.
It's not might be. Clint is going to be too much for Noel. And the only thing that I am thankful for is that I have seen Nerlens and Taj go from trying to collect the rebound to just trying to tap it to a teammate, and doing so successfully. Because without that, the Knicks will be getting abused on the boards on a nightly basis in the playoffs.
I don't know about abused.
Every time I've seen Nerlens go up against somebody who's heavier than him, which is about 95% of bigs in the league, he's getting bullied in the paint. He's getting bullied.
Yeah,
but
Nerlens isn't the only person responsible for our rebounds. RJ and Julius both are high rebound getters.
No, you're right. But when it comes to who's going to get the most rebounds, the guy usually it's the big, and usually it's the big that Nerlens is going up against. If it's not the big that Nerlens is going up against, we usually win that battle outright. But when we playing against Capella, we playing against Jokic, we playing against big bodies, dudes who can grab the board and no problem can hold their own in the paint, we usually lose that. We lost that battle to the Lakers. We lost that battle to the Nuggets. Usually when they have a big who is sizable, we lose that. But thankfully, I don't think that the Knicks need to win the rebounding battle in order to win the series. And the reason why I feel that way is because I analyzed all three of the games and looked at all of the things that the Knicks had an advantage. And in every single one of these games, the Knicks won the field goal percentage battle. They won the 3-point percentage battle. 2 out of the 3, they won the free throw percentage battle. They've won the assist battle, which the Atlanta Hawks actually have a better assist rate. They're better at assists throughout the season than us. But somehow we have won the assist battle every time we've played them. And that's like half of the stats. And then for games 2 and 3, we tied. We had the same. We were basically dead even with the Hawks. So even though we'll lose the offensive rebounding battle, and maybe we'll even lose the total rebounding, we'll make up for it somewhere else in terms of our efficiency. And this is just going to be tough. This is going to be based on who wants it more. Who wants to win this series more? Is it going to be the Knicks or is it going to be the Hawks? Neither one of these teams are playoff. They've been in the playoffs. This is their first entries with Trae Young leading and with Julius Randle leading. Neither one has a lot of playoff experience or any playoff experience.
But
But
key players in our rotation are playoff seasoned.
Yeah.
And defense is what wins you playoff games.
Well, they have key players too that are playoff seasoned also.
But how many of them are going to be playing big minutes?
A few of them.
Clint, Gallinari, who else?
I don't know. Those are the two I thought of.
Exactly.
Those are the two. Those are the two. But I think there is one more.
We have Taj, D Rose, Bullock, Burke. Who else?
Just a score update. The Celtics are currently beating the Nets.
Nerlens. But it's like, here's why I'm confident in the Knicks to be. I don't think we're going to get killed on rebounds, because for the entire regular season, we focused on doing the dirty work, playing defense every possession down the entire season. In the playoffs, that's when other teams want to pick it up and play to that intense level, but they're going to be playing catch up. We've been doing that all season long.
You forgot
the Atlanta Hawks aren't a top defense.
How could we have forgotten Lou Will?
Because I'm the Hawks when I think of Lou Will.
I mean, they acquired him in midseason, but
yeah,
Lou Williams
and he didn't look that great against us.
Lou Williams is still. You got to factor him in. Sorry, go ahead.
He can't know. They got to see it. But yeah. These teams might have out-rebounded us. I'm not paying too much attention to the regular season stats because teams play different in the playoffs. And I feel like when this team, the Hawks, tries to step up to be better on defense, they're going to be lacking in another area that they probably was successful in during the regular season. I don't know if their shooting is going to fall as much as it did in the regular season, because that always comes down in the playoffs. And being that we've been at that playoff pace since the beginning of the season, when it comes to how do you want to play the game, slow, you want to make every team play at our pace. We've been doing that every game this season except for, maybe 4 games. Mm-hmm. So I just see this entire playoff series being played at our pace with a few offensive runs by Trae Young and Bogdanovich, and then we bring them back down to our level and then make them play through the mud, drag them through the mud, and then they're going to just have to take that loss in 5 games.
So here's the things that kind of worry me. Well, let me start with the things that don't worry me. During the Atlanta Hawks season, they were 2nd in free throws made and 9th in fouls drawn, whereas the Knicks were 25th in fouls committed per game, which means that they were the 5th worst team at committing fouls. I don't think that's going to be an issue in the playoffs. I think a lot of the Hawks fouls are not going to be called in the playoffs. Let me just put it like that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the fouls that the Knicks got called this year are not going to get called in the playoffs. I think the Knicks got a lot of unfair whistles, and that's part of the reason why they're 25th. So I think that's going to be wash. What are you about to say?
Watching these playoff games makes me excited to watch the Knicks play, because I'm seeing a lot of those fouls that we normally get are not getting called anymore.
Exactly.
Which means we get an even bigger advantage on defense, which is like something that we're already one of the best teams in the NBA at.
And we'll talk about that later, because that is actually something that was in the news. The Atlanta Hawks averaged 113.7 points per game. And something that a lot of analysts have said is that this is going to come down to whether the Knicks are going to be able to outscore the Hawks. I think it's going to be about whether the Hawks are going to be able to score with the Knicks being able to play the game that they've always played, but not having to worry as much about a bad. So, like you just insinuated, yeah, the Hawks ain't going to be scoring 113.7 points per game in the playoffs. Whether it be, even if they get past the Knicks, they're not going to be scoring at that kind of clip, because the defense is just going to be at another level. Trae's going to have to score a lot tougher shots, and he's going to have to rely a lot more on finishing through contact than getting bailed out with a whistle. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that the Atlanta Hawks are 7th in offensive rebounding, which has been a problem for us, allowing other teams to get offensive rebounds, and us without having Mitch, who is going to be out probably for the entire series, if not most of it. We're not going to be able to capitalize on the offensive rebounding.
But the good thing is, because we had avoided the play-in round, and because we're the fourth seed and we knew who we've been playing in the playoffs in the first round this entire week, this team has been scouting the other team. They know all the little ticky-tack fouls that Trae Young has gotten through the season, and they're going to be prepared to avoid all of that, just so that it won't even come into question. They're going to be prepared to shut off all his scoring lanes. They're not going to let him get comfortable. And I've been listening to all these media interviews, these practice post-game interviews with every player, and they all seem to be locked in. They seem to be studying their matchups. They seem to understand what they understand. They understand what's ahead. They understand what to expect when the game starts, and that just makes me excited.
Yeah,
for tomorrow to get here, because I just want to see how
it plays
goes.
out. You know, everyone is.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a single podcast where somebody, like, I've heard some people say, yeah, Knicks in 6, Knicks in 7. I've heard Hawks in 7, Hawks in 6, but everyone says the exact same thing. These teams are evenly matched, and it's interesting because they play two different styles of basketball. The Hawks are more offensive oriented. The Knicks are more defensive oriented.
With a really good offense as well.
They are third in 3-point percentage. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would still say that they are a really good offense, but they're at the very least average to better than average, because they shoot efficiently. They have good 3-point percentage. They have a regular field goal percentage.
Let me elaborate on why I say that.
The only thing is somehow the effective field goal percentage, which is an advanced stat that I'm not going to get into, but the Hawks have us on that, and they have us on true shooting percentage, both overall and since March 1st. The Atlanta Hawks are better at both of those percentages in advanced stats. Go ahead.
Here's why I disagree with that. You're only as good as we've last seen you. And to end this season, the Knicks were the hottest team in the NBA. With a top-rated offense, top-rated defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
the Hawks were good
going
too,
into the season, but to end the year, were they?
Yeah, they were.
With the Knicks?
Since Nate McMillan became coach, both the Knicks and the Hawks have similar net rate. Actually, for over the whole season, they have pretty much the same net rating. The Knicks have a 2.4 net rating. The Hawks have a 2.2. But since March 1st...
But think about that,
Since March 1st, the Hawks' net rating has increased way more than... And they both increased, don't get me wrong. And it's still only... The Knicks' net rating since March 1st is 3.7. The Hawks is 4.5. The Hawks have...
They also had the easiest schedule in the NBA to end it off.
Well, the Knicks could have also made it easier on themselves by putting away the bad teams the way the Hawks put away the bad teams, and the Knicks kind of mess around with that a little bit. So
we put away the good teams, though.
Some of them. we're not going to get into Phoenix and Denver, but
like the fact that we were the hottest team in the NBA and we had one of the toughest schedules to end the year says something.
I mean, all I know is to end the year, the Hawks, I believe they did beat the Phoenix Suns, whereas we couldn't. And it's very hard to just say, like, definitively one team is better than the other based on, if you want to say, okay, the Hawks had the easier schedule, cool, but they also beat some of the teams that we couldn't beat. Then they also played a stretch of games. They also played a stretch of games without their best player and still won without him. Whereas we've had Julius Randle for the entire time, and some of those games he didn't play particularly well, but we still had him, and he was still a threat because he doesn't have to shoot well in order to pass to his teammates to get the win. It's really difficult to say one team is definitely going to take the other one. You got to work. Yeah, so they got the exact same record. Like, I would be disappointed if we lost to the Hawks, but
you wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be shocked if we got swept. I would be shocked if we got a gentleman's sweep. But if we lost in 6 or 7, I wouldn't be. I would just want to know exactly. I would like to pay attention to see why we lost and see who we need to get rid of or who we need to replace or what coaching decision Tom Thibodeau made, like start Elfrid Payton, caused us to lose the series. Which,
remember that argument me and you had about when we play the evenly matched teams, that's the games where you see who's the better coach?
Yep.
And I said that Tom Thibodeau was going to win that matchup 10 times out of 10. That's why I don't think this series is in doubt for the Knicks. I feel like no matter what, we're going to win this series, whether it be in 5 or 7. Because we have guys who've been here before, and we have guys who play with the mentality that they've been here before. Emmanuel Quickly doesn't play like a rookie. That's going to show in the playoffs. The playoffs show, they highlight what you've been doing all regular season.
What do you think the rotation is going to be? How many people? 10?
I think it's going to drop to probably 9 after Elfrid gets benched. I think Elfrid could get benched in the playoff. Everybody else is still going to play.
So
Frank is going to take his spot, I'm predicting.
you're saying Elfrid is going to get benched, but he's not going to get benched in game 1.
Nah.
He's going to start.
Tibbs is going to give him a shot. He's going to give him
How many shots is he going to get?
He's going to get 4 quarters to prove he can be in the rotation. If he has 4 quarters that are bad, I don't see him playing the rest of the playoffs.
I'm curious to look at how Elfrid played in the 3rd game from the season. I got to look at it. But when I was looking at the Knicks games against the Hawks, I noticed that in 2 of those games, Elfrid had like 20 points. So I wasn't sure if that was just because it was Elfrid Payton versus Trae Young. But
Trae Young also lit him up.
I mean, that's fine, but I have a feeling that if Elfrid plays like that, if he scores, he's going to get the burn that he hasn't been getting at the end of the season.
Yeah, because Frank is not going to score 20.
Right. Frank could score 20, like, if he's knocking down his threes and he's getting the minutes.
I don't see it.
But I don't see that
in the playoffs.
I don't see that happening. I could see it happen in the playoffs. It's just
I want it to happen badly. Look at my jersey. Like, there's nobody rooting for Frank to score 20 more in the playoffs than me because I'm wearing this to the game tomorrow. For those who are listening and are not watching on YouTube, I'm holding my Frank Ntilikina jersey up. I'm wearing this to the game tomorrow. So if you see someone wearing 11, I promise you I'm the only one.
Yo, let me get that. All right, so he only scored 6 points in Game 3 versus the Hawks. So, but he did play 17 minutes. So I don't know. I have this strange feeling that Payton is going to play just well enough to start every game, and for me to complain.
That's a good thing.
No, I don't. Because just
it's a good thing. We need Elfrid Payton to play good in order for us to win in the playoffs.
We need Elfrid Payton not to.
He's gonna play, and if he's playing well, he's gonna need to continue to play well in order to continue to play. Because we know Tibbs wants to win. He doesn't want to see Elfrid on the court more than he wants to win, and I can guarantee you that.
I mean, it's nice to hear. It's like that's a nice thing to hear, but you know, everything, every stat, everything you look at, you watch the game, you say, "Oh, okay, let's see how does the team play with Elfrid Payton on the court? Okay, how does he play all off?" Like everything you look at is like, why is this motherfucker starting? Like, I don't care if he's playing. If he's playing because okay, the contract, all that politics, all that good shit. Why is he starting the first
for a reason?
And
maybe he's starting because Tibbs doesn't want to give D Rose too many minutes.
You can't
and
say
IQ isn't ready.
You can't say he's starting for a
Tibbs
reason.
knows what he's doing.
And then I say, what's the reason? And you say, maybe he's starting because no. Give me.
I'm not the one starting him. I can't tell you the reason. All I can tell you is what I think is the reason, which is he doesn't want to burn Derrick Rose out, and Emmanuel Quigley's not ready to start.
I want to hear a good reason.
What? All right, but what's not reasonable about the reason I just provided?
Because you could put somebody else to start and still have Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quigley coming off the bench without hurting.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because Elfrid Payton is the best point guard option on the team. Point guard. Running the offense.
You believe that?
Leading the defense.
You believe the words that are coming out of your mouth right now?
He started on every team that he's been on.
Answer the
It's
question.
a reason why he's a starter
Do
point
you
guard.
believe the words that are coming out of your mouth?
We've seen Frank start at point guard, right?
I see you spinning around the question. Go ahead.
But answer this question. We've seen him play point guard, right?
Yeah.
Do you see Frank Ntilikina being the starting point guard of a 41-win team?
Julius Randle is our point guard, pretty much. So
Elfrid Payton is our point guard.
No. Elfrid Payton
He's the starting point guard of this team.
Elfrid Payton has not been our point guard in a few weeks now. Elfrid Payton is not initiating the offense. Elfrid Payton is not doing any of the things that he is sitting in the corner for the most part in the game when he's on the court. And if he's a second or third, which is the same exact thing that Frank does. The same exact thing that he's doing is the same thing that we've complained that Frank as a point guard did. So how can you say that he is our best point guard option if he's not even being utilized as a point guard because of how bad he's been playing?
If that continues in the playoffs, then he's not going to be our step.
And I don't want this to be an Elfrid Payton segment, but all I'm saying is that he has not been a point guard at all for us to end the season. And if that's the case, if our head coach who wants us to win, who knows best, and I'm not saying that he doesn't, and I'm not insinuating that he doesn't. I'm just saying that
Coach of the Year finalist.
I'm just saying that the decisions that he's making in regards to Elfrid Payton is the only thing that doesn't make sense, that I don't have an answer for, that every excuse or everything that I hear as to why this guy is playing and why he's starting, it's backed up by absolutely nothing that I can see, that I can research. Shut up. Because
am I lying?
Because
what he's doing is working, Jelani.
No, you are lying.
We got 41 wins.
You are lying because statistically the Knicks are projected to win more games if Elfrid Payton doesn't play at all. So that doesn't.
You're talking about numbers. Yeah. I'm talking about facts. What happened this year? He's the starting point guard of this team, right?
The only fact that you have is that the Knicks are 41 and 31 with Elfrid Payton starting. That's the only fact you have, but that doesn't mean that if he wasn't starting, you couldn't win more games. You can't prove that.
Well, that's hypothetical.
And you can't prove that we would win less games, which would be the reason to have him start. The reason to have him start would be if he doesn't start, we would win less games. And unless you could prove that to me, I don't want to hear that, oh, we're winning games with Elfrid Payton as the starting point guard. I don't. Sorry. It just means that we are a really good team, even though we have Elfrid Payton as our starting point guard. That's it. That's as far as I go with that. So, important matchups.
Elfrid Payton didn't contribute to this team at all.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But if we had, I don't know if you listened to one of the podcasts recently with Macri, but they said, oh, imagine we had the starting point guard in any of these playoff teams. Not even the starting. It wasn't even. Not even. They didn't even. Some of them they didn't even mention the starting. They had the backup point guards. And if we had the backup point guard, how much better would we be? So the fact that you.
But how many of those guys were free agents this summer?
No. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that even they said that the Knicks are doing this with a trash level point guard. That was the point that they made. So, and I'm just reiterating it, is that we're doing this in spite of Elfrid Payton, not because Elfrid Payton is starting, which the argument that you're making, that's what it leads to. We're winning this because Elfrid Payton is starting. No, we're not winning this because Elfrid Payton is starting. We're not winning 41 games because Elfrid Payton is starting.
I'm not saying
that was a part of it, yes, but
that's all I'm saying.
But you could also, it is way easier to argue that if you didn't have Elfrid Payton start, it's way easier to argue that we would win more games if we didn't have him start. It's easier to argue that than the other way around. And that's the point I'm making. So let's segue from that to the matchup which Elfrid is going to lose that matchup to Trae Young because he's not a good defender. And he's not going to score on par with Trae. So the first important matchup is every guard except for Elfrid Payton versus Trae Young. Derrick Rose has to hold up his end against Trae. If Frank plays, he's got to hold up his end against Trae. If IQ plays against Trae, he's got to hold up his end. If Alec Burks plays, he's got to hold up his end against Trae.
Frank is going to play.
Frank
is going to lock him up.
All of these guards that we have get smoked by Trae Young, it's going to be a long series for us. Or a short one, in the bad way.
I don't see that happening. I see them figuring Trae Young out in 1 or 2 games.
So, the next matchup, important matchup, Bogey Bogdanovic versus Reggie Bullock. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Bogey's going to win that matchup. No disrespect to Reggie Bullock, but Bogey is different. We saw him earlier this season when we went to overtime. We saw what he's capable of. And I think they're just going to take advantage of that in the playoffs.
So, I mean, the last time that they matched up, Bogey ended up scoring 20 points on 19 shots. And Reggie ended up scoring 18 points on 11 shots, which, if that's the way that it plays out in the playoffs, I mean, on paper, you would say Bogey won that, but I would say that Reggie won that. So if Reggie can get Bogey to just shoot just a little worse in the percentages, I would give that to Reggie, and I would call that a win for the Knicks.
I mean, I want to.
Yeah. I'm not expecting Reggie to match up with him point for point. I'm not expecting Reggie to score more than him at all. I'm not even expecting, I'm expecting Bogey to score 20 plus points per game. And I'm expecting Reggie to score less than 20. But I want to,
I'm not.
But what I'm really looking for here is the defensive impact. Because the Knicks need to do what they've done all season against the Hawks, which is shoot a better percentage from the field and from three. And this matchup is going to be key for that, in my opinion. This matchup where Reggie, he doesn't have to shut him down. He just has to make him shoot slightly worse. He's got to shoot sub 50 by 3 or 4 shots. No disagreements?
No disagreements.
DeAndre Hunter, you have here as a note. DeAndre Hunter is their best perimeter defender, and he's back for the playoffs.
Yep.
And he's going to be matched up with RJ.
Or Julius.
Who do you think?
Because John Collins was getting killed by Julius all year long, and Clint Capella is their rim protector, and they don't want to bring him out.
I don't
paint.
I mean,
So I see DeAndre Hunter getting that assignment.
so you think John Collins is going to be on RJ?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So DeAndre Hunter or John Collins versus RJ. You're saying John Collins. I'll say DeAndre Hunter is going to be on RJ. Who do you have winning that, regardless?
On RJ?
Yep.
I see RJ winning that. RJ is like, he's a lot stronger than he looks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he takes guys to the rim easy. I don't know. I haven't seen much of DeAndre Hunter. I just know that he's their best perimeter defender.
Mm-hmm.
But I see RJ stepping up big in the playoffs. I don't see him being unfazed. DeAndre Hunter, Trae Young, I don't see him being fazed by anything because that's all I've seen from him all season long. He just adjusts with whatever's going on and try to just get the job done. And that's all I've known from RJ since he's been here. So I don't expect anything less in the playoffs. I expect him to reach another level in the playoffs. And I expect Julius to win whatever matchup they put against him. And to exploit that. Every time they try to double team, exploit that. Get an open shot. And I think all these guys are prepared for this series. So I see it going 5-6 games.
While you were talking, the only thing that I could think of was, because this is going to be RJ Barrett's first playoff in the NBA. The only thing that I could keep thinking of was when I watched a few minutes of Duke in their final game with RJ and Zion, and basically they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And RJ was getting a lot of burn, and he was throwing up a lot of shots, and Duke was projected to win it all, and they didn't. They got knocked out early.
RJ's a lot better from them.
RJ is a lot better player now than he was during that series, during that
probably haunts him.
During that game. I want to see it in the playoffs, and I don't have. I have that. Whatever his matchup ends up being, I don't have anybody predicted. I had Reggie Bullock as winning the matchup against Bogey because I think that he's going to lose the stat war, but I think his only job is to make Bogey less effective, which I think he's going to win that. I have Trae Young winning his matchup. It doesn't matter. I just hope that he doesn't blow whoever he's matched up against out of the water.
Pause.
This matchup, I think, is going to determine who is going to win the series. If RJ plays really well, the Knicks are going to win. If RJ seems to be struggling throughout the series, the Knicks are going to lose. And that's just how it's going to be based on this and another matchup that I'm going to highlight later on. And next matchup, you said it's either going to be Hunter or it's going to be John Collins on Julius Randle. Doesn't matter. Julius Randle is washing whoever's on him one-on-one. Agree?
Don't see a matchup that he can't exploit.
There's no matchup that the Hawks have that he can't exploit. He's gonna do what he's gonna do, and from everywhere I've heard, the Hawks are gonna put whoever on him that they think is gonna be the best matchup, and they don't want to switch. They don't want to double. They want to just try and contain him with one person as much as possible, and it's not going to happen. Julius Randle is going to feast on whoever they have. And then we got Nerlens Noel versus Clint Capella, who I have Clint easily winning that matchup. The only thing that Nerlens can do is to nullify whatever Clint does by tapping the ball out for rebounds and by matching him defensively as a rim protector, which I think Nerlens can at least do that. He can be a rim protector, blocking shots, stealing the ball. He's not going to be an offensive threat, but maybe on the boards he can nullify Clint a little bit. And that's what the Knicks really need him to do.
I want to see Nerlens get savvy and try to draw some fouls from Clint. Chase some charges, try to get him fouled out the game because you know how much of a threat he is.
I mean, that's a regular season move that I haven't seen Nerlens do. So I can't say that I want him to.
Taj.
Yeah, we've seen it from Taj. I would expect Taj to do that. I don't expect Nerlens to do that.
Taj could throw him some tips.
I don't expect to see that in the playoffs. I feel like Nerlens would be too scared that he would end up getting himself in foul trouble trying to get Clint in foul trouble. You know what I mean? I think Nerlens is just going to play his game. So he's got to do all the other things that he's been doing.
Yeah.
And the last important matchup is who's got the deeper bench? Whose bench is going to come through more in the clutch? And that's another one where I don't have a clear advantage on either side. I think some people who are more well-versed in NBA than I am would say that Atlanta definitely has the advantage. I don't know if
our bench is our closing unit.
Our bench can be better than our starters on some nights outside of Julius Randle. Mm-hmm. And hey, you could call it streaky, you could call it whatever it is, but if Alec Burks, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickly, Taj Gibson, Obi Toppin, if 4 out of the 5 of those guys are focused and knocking down their shots, the Knicks are going to win. The Knicks are going to win the series. It's going to be based on, I think that everything else is just par for the course, right? No matter how you feel about Bogey versus Reggie, no matter how you feel about, Alfred versus Trae, no matter how you feel about Julius Randle or Clint Capella, if RJ Barrett If RJ Barrett game goes one way or another, and if the bench goes one way or another, that is going to determine the series. RJ Barrett and the bench. If RJ Barrett and the Knicks bench play well, the Knicks win. If they don't, the Knicks lose. Point blank, period.
This is a series that could actually be pretty beneficial to Obi Toppin because I don't see anybody on the bench of the Hawks that can stop him from doing anything that he wants to do. Like if Gallinari is his matchup, he can outrun Gallinari down the court before
I agree with that.
anyone else and get a lot of easy buckets just off that alone.
I agree with that.
He can outjump Gallinari for rebounds. He can exploit a Kongwu if they put him on him. I see a lot of like opportunity for Obi Toppin to shine in the playoffs as this being our first series, and that's what I'm gonna be looking for.
How were the Celtics
in our first game?
How were the Celtics beating them by 10 just now? They're not anymore, but anyway, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting, but Gallo, once a Knick, always a Knick, and guy who I wish we did not trade for Carmelo Anthony. Gallo's a gamer. You know, he's going to show up. You know, he's not always the healthiest player on the court. You know, has a litany of injury issues throughout his career, but he could come out and be a difference for the Hawks.
Yeah, he could.
You know, Lou Will.
So can D Rose.
Yeah, and that's why it's like whichever bench is better, that's going to tip the scales even more so in one team's favor than the other. So
Quickly has shined in these series. I mean, in these games in the regular season. And even though I just said the regular season shouldn't matter at this point, I think he can exploit his matchups too. Yeah. Coming off the bench and have a really good series.
Yeah, as long as Trae Young doesn't get him in foul trouble whenever Quickly's on him, which is one of the things that I don't expect to happen in the playoffs. I think Trae Young exploits the fouls and all that stuff. But, you know, who knows? With Nate McMillan saying that the NBA favors the Knicks and wants the Knicks to be in the playoffs, so the Hawks have to play even better. Who knows how the refs are gonna? Who knows how the refs are gonna call this? How do you feel about the comments, which I'm gonna pull up actually, and I'm gonna read them verbatim, even though it
revealed a lot.
Even though
it revealed a lot. If you're confident in your team, you don't gotta pull stunts like that. And he knows his team is young. He knows his team needs some motivation. It's their first time in the playoffs for the most part, outside of 2-3 players. You don't see Tom Thibodeau talking about the other team in a way that scares him. He talks about them in a way that lets you know that he prepared and he knows that this can be a tough series if we don't show up and we're not ready for everything. But there's no part of him that's saying, man, the league is like, really, they want to see like, if the league wanted to see the Knicks in the playoffs, our schedule would have been easier. And like, bro, it's just like, bro, we see right through everything that you're trying to do, and immediately on ESPN, all that media outlets, they immediately expose them, and he's talking about, oh, you got taken out of context, like, bro. So I understand
I'm gonna
that
read
you're nervous. Go ahead, read it.
I'm going to read his original comments. I've gone as far as saying the leagues want this. The league wants this. They need this. New York, you know, this is a big market. It's a big market for the league, and New York has been out of the playoffs for a number of years. And this is a team that our league, they want to see. There is a huge fan base. They want to see New York in the playoffs. They want to see the Lakers in the playoffs. Teams like that. The Boston Celtics. They want to see these teams in the playoffs, and I put New York in that category, that the league wants to see it. Everybody wants to see this. Even to the fact that our game was moved to Sunday, they want to see this. So yes, we have talked about that. We have talked about the advantages of the situation and some things that we're going to have to face going into the game, with kind of everyone picking New York to win and a lot of folks wanting to see New York in the playoffs. So,
Violin, please.
some of what he's saying is true, right? But when he says we have talked about the advantages of this situation and some things we're gonna have to face going into the game. What things are you gonna have to face, Nate McMillan?
We didn't play a game yet.
What-
We didn't play a single second on the court. and
What
he's talking
advantages are the Knicks gonna have? The haha, everybody laugh at the Knicks. They were laughing at the Knicks as recently as March, saying that the Knicks are. It's a fluke. The 3-point defense is gonna go away. You know they're not gonna be. They're gonna be in the play-ins. They're gonna shut. Like who?
Yeah.
We the Knicks have not had a favorable. I can't name a game where the Knicks had a favorable whistle all season.
Yeah.
And you have Trey flopping Young, who games the refs for the whistle every. So I don't see what advantages that the Knicks are going to have against the Hawks. I can see that you're scared because you know all of the things that you have used to win your regular season games are not going to be there in the playoffs because you've been playing a fluky game. Like you're winning off of stuff that's not going to win you games in the playoffs. So yeah, I could see that you're going to lose an advantage you had all season. But the Knicks ain't going to be given anything. They've been playing the entire season the way that a playoff team needs to play. So it sounds to me like you just don't think that you're a playoff team. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. Yeah. You got anything else for Nate?
Nate McChicken. McLennan.
Nate McDonald's.
McDonald. McLennan.
Yeah, nothing, right?
Scared to death, boy. Like, relax. You know you're gonna lose this series, God, with some pride. Like, let me not curse, mommy. Listening. On to the next topic.
All right, we only got one other topic left, and the last topic I got is former Knick sensation Jeremy Lin posted a farewell message to. Did you see anything about that, French?
Yeah, I didn't read it though. I didn't want to get sad. I don't want his career to be over already.
I would love Jeremy Lin to be the starting point guard of this Knick team, man.
If he's still good.
So, I mean, according to what I saw, he went to the G League. All right, I'm just gonna read what he said, and then I'll say everything else. May 16th, in my mind, was an imaginary circle around this date for an NBA call-up. The final deadline. After a year in the CBA where I overcame mental barriers from my past, I knew I was still an NBA player. Teams all asked if I still had the hunger, health, and skill to hang in the NBA. They wanted to see me hoop in person. So I gave up a season overseas to go down to the G League, a move few vets dare make. I've always known I need to jump through extra hoops to prove I belong, so this was par for the course. And I gotta scroll, because I did not realize that this was
3 pages long.
it's a long quote.
We get the gist.
I'm really proud of what I accomplished. I killed it in the G League and objectively showed it being a league leader in all categories a point guard should, and shooting career highs across the board. So, and the NBA posted this. This season, Lin averaged 19.8 points, 3.2 rebounds, 6.4 assists, and shot 50.5% overall and 42.6% on three-pointers for the Santa Cruz Warriors. So, him saying that about his game in the G League, they posted, NBA.com posted the stats. It goes to show that he wasn't lying, that He bowled in the G League, and for some reason, he still didn't get a call up. Jeremy Lin, man, if this somehow reaches your ears, I think you're better than Alfred Payton. And
That's not saying a lot.
And I think
I know
that,
Jeremy Lin was like, he about to say something good.
And I think that if you were the point guard of the New York Knicks, we would probably make it to the finals with this team. So, if you have any kind of cachet with Leon Rose, maybe put that bug in his ear that maybe you come off the bench and maybe you could be part of the Magic next year. Tom Thibodeau, he's gonna love you.
Man, stop giving up Luka's spot.
I mean,
I do want to see Lin back on a roster as a vet with Iman Shumpert. That's what I would want to see.
Jeremy Lin, he was a very important part in maintaining a lot of Knicks fan sanity during Linsanity. We lost Carmelo, we lost most of our starters, and we had no point guard. And I remember being like, yo, why don't we play Jeremy Lin and see what he's got? What do we got to lose? We have everybody else is a bum. Let's play him and see what it is. And they play him, and he just goes ballistic for 4 weeks. And then
that's when I became a Knicks fan.
You had to have been watching the games to kind of understand just how crazy Linsanity was. This dude was a Chinese basketball player who went undrafted from Harvard. He was undrafted from Harvard, came to the NBA and started at point guard for the New York Knicks and beat teams like the Kobe Bryant Los Angeles Lakers. He had a game winner.
31 on them.
He had a game winner against the Toronto Raptors, who were a good team at the time.
With DeRozan and Kyle Lowry.
You can't make this up. I was hoping and praying that the Knicks could have made it work with Lin and Carmelo Anthony, and the styles just didn't mesh. He ended up getting a really big contract after hurting his knee, and he was never really the same. He never recreated Linsanity on any other team, but I thought that he was a very decent point guard who could shoot, who could penetrate, who could pass, and that's exactly the type of point guard that we need on this current roster. So, with all that said, if you never come back to the NBA, thank you, Linsanity, for all you've done for Knicks, and thank you for all you've done for the NBA. We'll miss you. That's all I got.
I don't think he's done.
You don't think
he'll be back
in the NBA?
Yeah, I think so. He's only 32.
Yeah, but I think that I think there's just too much going against him to expect that he's going to come back. If he does, I would love it, but I don't expect it.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
The Knicks Take Podcast.
I think that's all we got. We don't got nothing, and we're gonna be talking about. Oh, let's go over the dates of the Knicks playoff games before we sign off.
Mm-hmm.
Game
As
one.
I watched the Celtics beat the Nets.
What's the score?
44-37 right now.
See, we were talking about sweep. I mean, it's only the second quarter.
Yeah, it's the second quarter.
The second half is going to be like, and just like that, they showed us
just like that.
They showed us that this Brooklyn team might.
Yeah.
Game
As
one.
Joe Harris throws a foul on the three.
That French will be attending with a Frank Ntilikina jersey. That I still need to. May 23rd at the Garden, 7 p.m. Sunday. Hawks at the Knicks. Hawks will be back at the Knicks game 2 on the 26th, 3 days later, which I think is really interesting. I think it's really interesting that after game 1, there's going to be 2 rest days before they come back at the Garden. And then after that, there's only going to be 1 rest day to go from New York to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So if the Knicks take both of these, Atlanta's not going to have any rest.
Right.
And when I looked at the Hawks' schedule, they were pretty bad on like back-to-backs. I think they were pretty bad on when they didn't have a lot of rest and they had a really big game the game before. They weren't really good at that. So if the Knicks win the first 2 games and they beat up on the Hawks, I would think that they could steal Game 3 in Atlanta.
Atlanta's going to be another Knicks home game.
Even though I agree with that, I don't think that we should take that to mean that the Knicks are going to automatically win. I think that I put more stock on the fact that there's only one day in between games, 2 and 3, and it's going to be a travel. They're going to be traveling that day, if not, the night before. That's gonna benefit the Knicks more than the Hawks because the Knicks are used to playing tired, whereas I don't think the Hawks ever got used to playing tired. They have maybe
we just got
one
the most rest since All-Star break.
Yeah, I think the Hawks have only won 1 or 2 of their back-to-back games, and they were both at the end of the season. Whereas the Knicks the Knicks have been pretty decent. It's hard to win the second half of a back-to-back, but the Knicks have done it multiple times. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and this is the first time that Julius Randle's getting a week-long break.
Yes.
Even during the All-Star break, he didn't get much of a break.
Right.
So now he's going to come back energized.
With his
Everybody
braids.
else is going to come back energized with the fresh braids.
And these 2 games off, like, the leader in the NBA in minutes, he got a chance to get a little bit of rest as he was pulling off all these incredible feats tired.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just excited to see him healthy, back, energized, and we don't have to worry about, is Julius tired? He's playing a lot of minutes. Like, he's had a full week rest, and we back home at the Garden for Game 1.
And after Game 3,
Excited.
we'll be back here talking about the first 3 games. Game 4 will be Sunday, the following Sunday at 1 o'clock, which means I'm probably going to be missing a good portion of that game, unless I work 5 to 1 that day, which I don't anticipate I will. So that's going to suck for me. I'll have it recorded, and I'll still we'll be talking about the first 3 games of this first round series with the Knicks and the Hawks. In the next episode, 12 of the Knicks. French, you got anything you want to plug?
Oh, look at this.
Yo, you got me one?
Yeah. No. How much money you think I'm getting, man? I just bought some playoff tickets.
Yeah,
Shit's
you got
running
playoff
out.
tickets. You buying shirts. What am I getting? Like, come on.
Bro, I had to give up half of my leg just for that playoff ticket.
I
You
mean,
want me to give up my arm too?
well, this is a new shirt that I got right now, and I actually I need to find my hat, but I'll probably wear that hat for the next pod.
That's from Knicks Film School. That T-shirt that I got. I was gonna wear it to the game tomorrow.
I have
Just
a
to
couple
show
of
love.
I got a couple of shirts that I'm trying from the Strickland the Knicks Film School podcast. They got some merch. I'm like, yo, I want to buy some of their merch too and wear that.
Yeah.
Show some love over here, but
Show some love.
yeah, if you don't got nothing else to plug, I don't got nothing else to plug. Knicks in 6 is my prediction. French has no prediction until the game is over. And we're going to get out of here. Thank y'all for listening. We love y'all. Peace. That intro music was Broadway Boo by Gotti B, formerly known as Bugatti Blade. You can find us on Twitter at The Knicks Take. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.